6.9 FM Oakland and streaming online at www.kgpc969.org. This is the Anything Can Happen show with Kenya Asa, Quezzy Dreams, and your man Cat Fitness.
Yeah.
Today we're about to have a conversation get like kind of deep, y'all. A
Woo!
conversation that we normally don't have in the community
Right.
with a very special person.
Yes.
Miss Kenya, can you introduce our audience to who we have in the building today?
Yes, I can. People, can you help me welcome Vernice Cooper? I'm excited. I'm really excited to have her on the show because she is a little bit in the same field that I'm in. So I'm kind of excited to talk to a peer. Vernice Cooper is a dynamic motivational speaker, consultant, author, and a licensed marriage and family therapist who is determined to use her education and experience to inspire, motivate, and transform lives. Her life experience of overcoming family addiction and trauma, paired with her professional experience, fuels her passion to guide people, particularly women, out of a victimville mentality. Ooh, I can't wait to hear more about that. Using real-world examples, humor, and short storytelling, Vernice sheds light on how resilience transforms the way we live, love, and heal. Everybody, please welcome Ms. Vernice Cooper to the show.
Hey.
This
What's going on, Vernice?
is, yes,
Thanks for
I'm
having
so
me.
excited to hear about that. I just want to ask really quick because I don't know what MPA means, and that's part of your bio. I don't know what an MPA is.
Oh, okay. I also have a master's in public administration.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Emphasis of organizational leadership.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. For those of us not in the know, like myself. Thank
I
you
like
so
that.
much.
I like that. But going back to the beginning, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited.
Yes.
I love the energy in here.
Oh yeah, we love that you're here. Thank you for joining us. And it's Vernice Cooper, correct?
Correct.
Outstanding. So you're here. Now I've heard the term vacate victimville, right? Vacate victimville. So I believe that's your Instagram tag.
Yes.
Yes. Now is that for the marriage and family therapy or just for your businesses in general?
That is for a business brand and also a movement.
Ooh,
Right? I'm
come
trying
on.
to help people leave a mentality of victimization.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you, how did you get started with that? How did you start with that? Because I primarily work with women also, and I specialize in trauma stuff. And so what made you think about the whole victim mentality? What brought you there?
So what brought me there specifically is I realized about 6 years ago that I was not only in the victimville, but I was the mayor.
Oh
Wow.
my goodness. Don't we have a different perspective if we are also part of the thing that we're talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How did you come to that realization?
Yeah.
I came
seriously.
to the realization, and it was as it relates to a workplace environment.
Oh,
And I
wow.
kept calling the environment toxic.
Oh my God.
6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she and
You
I
had
are
an
obviously
epiphany.
long
This,
lost
I
twins.
had,
We're long lost twins.
I had an epiphany, but I knew it, and I actually talked about it a little bit this morning on another show. Is that when Starbucks transitioned from my healer to my dealer,
Ooh.
I
Oh,
knew
my
something was up.
goodness.
Like
Uh-oh.
I used to go get
Whoa.
coffee,
Yeah.
and then it came to the point where I was like rolling up.
The coffee was getting
Yeah.
The coffee was getting me.
It was multiple
Right? I
times
was
a
like, let me
day.
get a double
Latte.
latte.
Right.
And then here's
Grande.
the part how I knew that it was impacting me, because I love to be places early.
Uh-huh.
And I knew when I started to, when I was okay with staying in the Starbucks line, even if it meant I was going to be late to work,
Mm.
right? Because I didn't want to be in that place.
Were you a little bit of a Starbucks addict? A little bit?
You know what? I'm not even a big coffee person. I really love teas.
Oh,
right?
okay.
But I became part of that culture. So no,
Oh, sure.
no shot to Starbucks. I don't want
Right.
y'all coming for me. They're just part of my journey.
Well, it's funny that you should say that because I'm just going to say this briefly. My these guys know this. My best friend passed away a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago. But she was so Starbucksy, right, that it didn't matter what Starbucks we went to in the Bay Area. We would walk in and they'd be like, "Hey, Erica, Like I was like, you know, and then her husband was like, you need to get a Keurig. He bought her a Keurig because he said, we going broke. It's like a $500 a month habit.
I think what Quezzy would say is you have to invest into Starbucks. Like, yeah, if you're going to be going to Starbucks,
that is what Quezzy.
Yeah.
That is what Quezzy would say. So how do you feel like this contributed to you, like in your words, being the mayor?
The mayor.
Yeah.
I also noticed that people would come to me with their problems.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I was becoming a holder of the toxicity.
But that's part of the job in a way, because in this like social work field, I'm a retired social worker.
Yes.
That is that's what happens. You go into that field for a reason because you have that kind of energy. You know, we have that kind of energy where people will come to us, and it doesn't really matter necessarily. I think that what happens is people don't understand that you can go through things too, you know, and that you not necessarily can hold all of other people's problems and pain and issues and stuff like that all the time, because it's a really heavy burden. Yeah.
When you don't have a filter for it, you just become a holder of it.
I know it.
And that's a very different space to be in.
Yep.
But I noticed that I began to change. I started.
What did you start? Oh, I was about to say, what did you start to see? Like,
okay, and that's why, you know, after I wrote the book, I was like, no, I'm going to write a workbook about my process. And so what I started to see, I started to have a difficult time celebrating other people. And that looks different in the social media age, because what it looks like now, like the new age hater is like, you see their post, but you're not there to like it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Right? You're not going to push it.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
Because I knew that I had not stepped into my own divine assignment.
Yes.
Right? And so there were things like that. So it started there with not nervous. And then I was blaming other people, the system. The system in which we work in. I was a social worker at the time, working in Child Protective Services.
That's where I worked. What county? Were you here?
Yeah,
local. Don't tell.
Listen.
Don't say. Never mind. Because right. Yes.
They come and looking for
you. Okay. Never mind. We'll talk about that off the air. Okay.
Off air.
Okay. So you realize that you were blaming other people for your problem. That's a very common thing that obviously a lot of people do, right?
Yeah.
So how did you find? Well, first, how did you figure that out? And two, how did you find a solution?
Oh, that's great. Oh, you're going there.
Yeah.
So I realized it was a problem for me because I wasn't taking any responsibility for myself. Sometimes we stay in a job because we have told ourselves a story about the benefits are well.
Yeah, sure.
I even heard,
and they are
the benefits, and they're good.
They are good.
Yeah. And you gotta have a retirement. And I have parents who are like, don't leave that good government.
Oh my God, how many times have I told that story, you guys? That's exactly what my mom and my aunt said. And I've repeated that story so many times. So I completely relate to what you're saying. But it is real. And it's not so much necessarily Quezzy. It is not necessarily scarcity. I think what it can be is that is their experience as especially people of color, Black people coming up, but not necessarily. I don't think that it's about scarcity.
Well, that is something that's on them. It's not their fault. It's not our fault.
Right.
They have a scarcity mindset. We're programmed to a scarcity mindset.
Right.
That same scarcity mindset gets people to stay in toxic situations.
Right.
So not saying they're scarcity.
No, I know. But I think that in their time, that was real. Like in their time, my parents were like, don't give up that government job. Don't do it. And it's not because of scarcity that in my opinion, I feel like it's more, they were brought up with a sense of responsibility in a different way where like they also didn't have the options or even if their creative mind told them,
maybe not even the options, it's the know-how.
There's for sure.
How can I do something different?
Absolutely.
You know, where do I even get started? Where do I get the finances? Where do I get the opportunity?
And fear, and fear. So
and it's all of that. In fact, once I realized I was mayor, I realized this was a very familiar place. I grew up here. I grew up in Victimville. I grew up in poverty and with a poverty mindset. So I hear when you're saying scarcity, I understand
Scary, yeah.
right? It's scary.
Very scary.
The fear will suspend you.
Sure.
It will not just suspend your abilities, it will suspend your creativity.
Yeah, that's what we saw in Get Out. We
Mm.
should like sink, right? Suspended fear. Right. So that's what. So in terms of a solution, right? Like what did you do to start creating that solution? What does it look like now?
Yeah. So I started to write down these things. Right. What are my options? Actually, first, what do I want?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a question a lot of us don't ask is what do we really want?
What
What makes us happy?
And a lot of us are afraid to even go there.
We'll ask the question, but we won't answer it.
Yeah. And some of us are afraid to even ask it because we're in this robotic kind of mindset, this robotic thing, you know. So what did you do? What motivated
How did you break away from the matrix?
That's
Yeah,
I think that's it.
Yes. I would love to say that a light switch turned on, but it didn't. It was a gradual process. The first thing I had to look and see who was on the other side. Were there people doing exactly what I said I wanted to do? I did some internal work around pursuing my own purpose, right? Like, who am I created to serve? I already know that. I know that now. And because of that, I can be greater in what I do, right? I know I'm here for people of color, believers, and overachievers. I can cover all those things. And I understand what my purpose is too. It is to expose light in dark places. Like, I'm not for everybody. Right. I'm not your typical motivational speaker. I don't even like to call myself a motivational speaker because it's more about empowerment and transformation. It's different. Right? Because
that's what Lisa Nichols says.
Yeah, and it's very different because I understood the process. First, what I thought was I just wanted to make this little change. If I change my job, I'll feel better. I think we tell ourselves that story.
Get a new job?
Yeah, if I get a new job, I'll be better. I actually had to start becoming a better person before I got a new job. And I left that job. I took over a $40,000 pay cut to find myself.
Now, I was about to say that can be a scary place, right?
Yes.
Because
especially for my husband, who was like, "You're doing what now?"
Huh?
Right.
But how did you find the courage to say that this pay cut is worth my happiness?
Right.
You know, to allow me to move forward, I have to take 2 steps back to take 5 steps forward.
Yeah,
because it's so risky.
It is, but when I ask what do I really want, the first answer I have for myself is peace of mind. And sometimes your peace is expensive.
Extremely.
It costs you something.
Oh, amen.
It costs you something. And for me, it cost me over $40,000.
Sure.
But I knew, I mean, I'm a believer, so I already knew. Like, I've been
coming back tenfold.
Listen. I knew on the other side, but I started to believe it with those small action steps I was taking.
But why? Why were you a believer? I need to know, and I think the people out there need to know too. Like, why did you know that? Why did you have that kind of faith in your own ability to sustain yourself or your own ability to sustain your family and your future? Yeah. So I don't even have that much faith in my own ability. I have faith in God's ability. Right? I stepped out of my own way because I kept trying to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. Like, I got this. It wasn't working. Yes.
Can I challenge you on something?
Yeah.
Because I hear that a lot, right? And I respect that as a man of faith, a spiritual man. We were talking about church off air, right? And my belief is that if we are created in God's vision, we are also God's. Right? We may not be the source energy, right? Which is what God is. It's like being plugged into a wall, right? Like God is the wall, God is the plug, right? But we have that ability because I felt when I hear that, it's almost like I need somebody to come and save me in a way, right? And like, not intentionally, not in a bad way, but when we believe we are like, I believe Jesus was a man that realized his full potential. Absolutely. Right? And he could call himself in constant, I'm the son of God, because we're all sons and daughters of God. We're people of God, humans of God, right? Yeah. And we have that God ability in us. Absolutely. Right? And I'm glad you said that because last year at a retreat in South Carolina, I was actually talking about that, right? Yeah. I am made in his image. So when people say, hey, Vernice, we want you to come talk. But can you leave like that God stuff out? What? Sure, of course. No. And I'd be like, say that sometimes. Yeah, they say that quite a bit. And I say, you know what?
I cannot say God, but wherever I am, so is He.
Wherever the trees are, the oxygen is. Right? Like people say they got to see God. They don't see air.
They don't
breathe it.
Don't see.
Well, and I think part of it is that if you are a person of faith and somebody asks you to come speak on your own experience, how are you? You cannot be. Why would they expect you to leave that out?
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. So
And
like,
why God?
well, because for so many reasons, because people are, you know. I do respect the fact that not everybody is a person of faith, or the people that you're speaking to are not necessarily an audience that is full of people of faith or Christians or whatever you want to call anybody that believes in a higher power. And so I think that people don't necessarily want to alienate their audience or have somebody that their audience can't relate to or whatever. But if they're calling on you and they're specifically saying to you, can you leave that out? They know what they're doing. They know the person that yeah, you know.
Obviously not.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that why would they? Then they've got the wrong person.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we usually arrive there.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I probably didn't seek you out. You sought me out.
Amen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what you see in me is a reflection of God's work.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that so much because most people, like, we're people of faith, right? And like in church, even in the Bible, it says faith can exist with fear. Like they can exist at the same time. We live in a very fearful nation, a very fearful world, meaning people need more faith. They need more people talking about what's beyond this thing that they think they see that terrifies them. And people live out of fear. Look what we do out of fear. People eat each other out of fear. That's like the lowest base level of existence. And we're more likely to talk about that and talk about God, which will give us hope. Like that's crazy to me.
Well, and I think that we do live in a very melting potty society here in this country, and everybody's feelings should be respected because not everybody's going to feel like us.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to feel like, not that it's just not going to happen. And so I hear what you're saying, Kwesi, but of course the reality is that people are entitled to live, breathe,
To be
believe, and believe, and whatever, and that doesn't make them bad or wrong or anything like that. It might not be right for us or you or me, but it's whatever it is for them, you know. And so then how do you traverse that, that
So a lot of times people, and that's the hard part, right? Especially in the faith community, when you say, how can you have fear if you love God, right? And I'm like, they can coexist because it's part of your humanity. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, instead of saying like, get over the fear, like just bring it with you.
Feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway, which is what I always say. Yeah.
Fear, are you here? You tried to slow me down.
It's so funny because just this past weekend I went skydiving with my oldest son. Right?
Wow.
He just turned 18.
He's alive, y'all.
Wow. Live to tell the story.
Because Cat is crazy.
See? And a lot of people would say that, right? You're crazy. Why would you jump out of an airplane and do this? And you've never done it.
Right.
You don't know what it's like.
Won't.
You don't know what it feels like. So why are you placing why are you putting it in a box of these thoughts? You're comparing it to a roller coaster. You're comparing it to some other experience that you may have had in life. Yeah. But it's none of those things.
Right.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your mindset is very different than
some people's than those people.
But what I'm saying is it's one of those things. It was so dope seeing my oldest son like going through the process. He was just open. He was just there for the experience. He didn't think, he didn't compare it to anything. He just wanted to experience what it was like to jump out of a plane.
Yeah.
And watching him go through that experience, I know he's going to be successful in life because the openness, not putting things. A lot of times we stop ourselves because of fear, because we think of past experiences, past jobs, past limitations that then allow us to move forward. And then when we come across new obstacles, then we put those same beliefs around them, right?
Yeah.
When you go into things and it's like, I'm just here to experience it. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm willing to try.
I'm willing to try.
Or and not just be willing to try, but not committed to stopping other people or like your children from experiencing different things based on your own fears.
You know what I used to hear when I was a kid? Skydiving and all that kind of stuff is for white people.
Yes,
straight up. I mean, that's what I used to hear. Like,
he's like, well.
But when I did it, but when I did it for myself,
right,
I realized I was like, this is the most like free I've ever felt in life.
Well, like, and I wanted to feel like that. I wanted to zip line in Costa Rica, but I was like, mm-mm. And then my husband and my son did it, and my son, he was so unafraid at that age, like 7 years old or 8 years old. They put him on the grown-up zip line. Now, I myself couldn't watch. I went away someplace and drank a beer. Because if he comes hurtling to the ground,
but you know what's
screaming
better?
For his mother, I didn't want to see it.
I'd rather you walk away than put fear into you.
No, yes. I walked away.
You know what I'm saying? But that's good though.
Yeah,
because a lot of people would say all these fearful things to their kids.
Oh yeah, my mother wouldn't have let me do it.
Exactly.
She would not. There is no way, shape, or form that she would have allowed that because based on her own fears. And I didn't want to put my own stuff on my child. Yeah. And so I walked away because I assumed everything would be okay, but I didn't need to see it.
Yeah. And that's something we actually, it's a gift that we can give our children is, we talk about generational wealth. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't talk enough about the real gem, right? Like, which is generational emotional wealth. Like you gave your son a gift, right? With the opportunity to try something new. Like there's so many lessons we can break down the skydive from getting on the plane to everything and relate it back to life.
Exactly.
Right. There's so much there, but we have to pass down some things that are different. Right?
Yes.
For the next generation.
Yeah. Hopefully.
It's a mindset.
Hopefully. Yeah. Changing that mindset will just affect our children, their children, the children after them, and think of what that'll just do for the culture. Think of what that'll just do for our lifting ourselves up in the future.
Yeah, I can imagine when I was mayor in that toxic place that if, as my children were paying attention, they wouldn't want to help people because helping people would create like some kind of disdain by the way that I come home and talk about work. Mm-hmm. Right. So you have to be mindful of like those conversations.
You really, really do. I want to ask you, is it too soon to leap ahead and ask you about your book? I want to know a little bit about it.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. So Vacate, Victimville is a compilation of short stories. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to, you can read their short stories. And I talk about just the mindset, like Victimville actually being a place, right? So how most people get there is on Disappointment Drive. They make a left on Betrayal Boulevard. They end up on Resentment Road, right?
Right.
They get stuck on Anger Alley. And some people are visiting Victimville. They're not going to be there long. They're in and out. Some people are visiting other people in Victimville. You ever been around somebody, you pick up on their energy, their mindset?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? But some people have actually made Victimville their home. Yeah. These are the people who say, I am, this. It is what it is. I've always been like this. This is who I am.
Oh, yes.
Right.
They speak affirmations of lower frequencies over their life all day.
All day.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're like, did you just hear what you just said about yourself?
Yeah, I think that's normal in so many ways. In some situations, I remember, years ago, I used to always be like, oh my God, I can't do that, y'all. I'm broke. I can't do that. I'm broke. I am so broke. And I don't remember who was the person that stopped me from doing that. It was some friend or somebody said to me, and I'm somebody that wrote a book and talked about affirmations and all this other stuff, and I wasn't seeing what I was doing in my own life, and so they were like, you have got to stop saying that, and I was like, oh, yeah, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is. It's a language that I call victimese.
Oh my God, I love that.
And we talk in victimese a lot.
Yes.
Right. In fact, Kat heard me talking in victimese when we got here. He was like, oh, what is the story you're telling yourself?
Uh-huh.
Right, because you have to watch even those little things that you say that you're speaking, you're speaking against yourself.
Yeah.
Right, you're speaking against your own power.
So you're an expert, but you find yourself like still you're learning.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we all do.
Everybody.
Yeah. When you're not learning, you're not growing. There is no middle ground. If you're not learning, you are dying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, absolutely.
Anything that's not growing is dying.
Yeah. So staying curious. So none of the stories end with a solution, but they're all followed by a poem that kind of connects some of the dots.
Yeah, that's real.
And so I wrote the workbook afterwards, so people can help people kind of work through each of those streets, if you will.
Yeah.
Is your book and your workbook, are they available on Amazon or your website? Okay.
They're available on Amazon.
Okay, great.
I know a few moments ago we were talking about children will definitely get all your tags and everything.
Yeah.
Right. Like get you some book sales, do what you gotta do. But we were talking about children a few moments ago.
Yes.
And you have your wonderful son in the studio, Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan, he makes animated films?
Yes.
Yeah, he's 15.
Yeah.
15-year-old entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Winning awards and stuff.
That's amazing.
Incredible. But
wow.
How do you, with everything that you have going on, we've only talked about like 10% of it, right?
Yeah.
But how do you balance being a mother with all those things?
Yeah, that's tough. That's probably a better question for my children, right?
Oh, wow.
My husband.
Wow.
But I there's so much more I feel like sometimes that I can be doing.
Always.
But I'm always thinking, okay, what is the cost? Right? What is it going to cost?
Checks and balances.
And so I try to make time for each of them. Both of my children work in my business.
Nice.
Right? They work for it. They get their own tax write-off. Okay, for you listeners, up to $12,000.
Hey,
per
child.
kid. Per child. Thank you. See, you got the financial person.
Yes.
So I don't use the word balance. I think I'm just a really good juggler, right? Of all the things.
Yes.
And sometimes I look and a ball has dropped, and I'm like, husband, you down there? Let me get you back up here in rotation. Right. And so being purposeful about making time for all of it. Right.
It's so hard.
It is. There's no balance. There's no balance.
No,
are we in Victimville right now?
No, I don't know. I think there's a big difference between being in Victimville, and understanding that things can be challenging, and challenges aren't bad or anything to say to or knock ourselves for, but that is real talk. Because that it's really hard. I'm also a wife and a mom, and a multi entrepreneur. And listen, one time I looked up and I was like, I have not done laundry in I don't know how long. I was like, I need these bikini bottoms for underwear. Okay, like I did not figure out how long it had been because some things just dropped. And then am I going to be mad at myself for that? Or am I going to be like, okay, there's some things have to change.
Yeah. Well, you have to extend yourself. And I do this a lot. I try to remember and give myself the same grace and compassion that I offer my patients and my clients.
Yep.
Right. I understand that I need that grace too. Right. But I'm not going to always dot every I, cross every T. I have to stay very mindful of what's really important. And we found that out during the pandemic, right?
Sure.
Everyone did. Like what really is important. At the end of the day, if the country shut down, who do you want to be with?
Yeah.
You want to spend that time with. So
yes.
that was tough.
That's powerful.
And a lot of people found that they did not want to spend that time with their spouse.
That part.
That's a whole nother show.
And some wanted to spend more time, for sure.
Yeah, so we'll definitely pick up there because we're going to take a quick music break at the half. We have some incredible music lined up. All right, we're getting that set up. So you're listening to KGPC 96.9 FM. This is the Anything Can Happen show on KGPC 96.9 FM and streaming online, www.kgpc969.org. Debbie, stay tuned. We have an incredible second half lined up. In the meantime, quick music break. Peace. Felicia will cut this out, right? All right, excellent. Should we stop the recording?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
It's coming on.
So during the music break, you can use the restroom if you want to. Okay, wow,
We're safe.
Yeah, please.
I know you're still going live. That's why I asked.
Yeah. No, we'll let it play.
Awesome. That goes by so fast.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, we ain't even.
Wait till we hit the second half.
Okay.
Oh, why is it not pulling in?
We didn't even think you.
You know what? I've been single for a while, but kind of single for a while. I'm losing my ladiness. So. Did you say you're single for a while, so you're losing your ladiness?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so I love it. I love it. It's adorable. So I can start. So I can channel back my lady. I just started wearing stilettos again. It had been so long. I had to go to the garage and dig them out because I have like little dresses and dress like that, stuff like that. Everything we're not. So my child had never even seen it. And he was laughing. I put some leopard print, high heel stilettos. He was like,
I can wear them, but I can't.
right. Oh no, I practiced before I went out. Yeah, I was going out with some of my girlfriends, and I was like, them two can dress like somebody's mama if they feel like it. But not me today. I'm gonna dress like somebody's, side piece. That's what I said. As I'm going out here dressed like somebody's side piece. That's okay. But I was like, oh no, I'm just that tomboy cannot take over now. My husband would look at me. I'm not at all, but my husband would look at me like I got him all. I got to find that ladiness.
Yeah,
Right.
like literally. I'm like,
I'm like that. Right. Yeah. I said I'm that shit started the same thing. I was like, no, I cannot go on.
don't let me beat her.
Why did you take a song?
We have so much to talk about.
Yes.
We have so much to talk about.
And I did,
Man. Oh, we do need music.
How
How about we just skip the music and have Felicia put it in? So it'll kind of spend time.
I'm gonna go to the file. Yeah, we
Oh
can.
no, she's not in CPS. She might be in a.
Now I listened to the song
I did
yesterday. Yeah, maybe it's down.
5 years.
Oh, there. It kept on freezing.
You gonna turn the mics up?
Huh?
You gonna turn the mics up?
Mics are off.
Oh,
Yeah. That was kind of weird because I kept on going to the link and it was just,
yeah.
I had to close it out, keep on reopening.
Yeah. Had to.
Should just edit out that portion.
It's all good. That was good first half.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty good.
Oh. We will be back, y'all. We taking a short music break for the second half of the conversation. Hey, make sure y'all jumping in, asking questions to Vernice as we're having this conversation. We want it to be an interactive conversation so you get the jewels that you need on your journey. So make sure you're typing in the comments any of your questions so we can ask Vernice live and we could give you a shout out too while we're on the show. All right.
Yeah, let's. Oh,
All right, we got a minute and a half.
Who is she? Do I know? I might. Oh, I don't. Okay. Okay.
She has lower needs. I use her.
Well, my
Let me tell you, she has
Yeah. Yeah. I always want to know other makeup artists.
I wonder why it's not coming through the speaker today. Some days it comes through the speaker and some days it doesn't. Huh?
The speaker's off.
No, that speaker's off. It usually comes through this speaker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That speaker, that's the speaker that gives us feedback in the studio.
Everybody's makeup. She's a very.
We got 40 seconds, ladies.
She's a very, very experienced makeup artist, and so she did that. The whole film with Black people, and she did it beautifully.
Coming in. Yeah.
You gonna bring us back, Quezzy?
I'm sorry.
Oh no, Quezzy's gonna bring us back from the music break.
I put it more on the crown of my head. It kept slipping. Sorry.
Outstanding. Welcome. You have officially entered the second half of the Anything Can Happen show after that quick music break. We have in the studio today Vernice Cooper. Vernice Cooper representing Vacate, Victimville, which she talked a lot about in the first half, and she'll talk about a lot more. But with that in mind, I know what we left off at is we're having some conversation about being a mother and balancing, talking about the ways that you're an entrepreneur and also you're married and you're a mother, all these things, right? So now looking at what you're doing specifically, right? Like kind of why we invited you to come to the show, because obviously you have a lot to offer the world, right? And one of those things being an MFT, like a license. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist for Kaiser Permanente, #why. Most of Northern and Southern California have Kaiser Permanente.
Absolutely.
So I work there part-time as a licensed clinician, and I specialize in addiction medicine and recovery services. So I love addiction medicine. I love the community in which I get to serve. So that's one of the things that I get to do.
Absolutely. And what addiction medicine? What does that mean?
Addiction medicine and recovery. So substance abuse.
Oh, okay.
Drugs and alcohol.
Oh, so you're doing some real work.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
And so what would you get? Everybody in this room is married. Yeah, everybody in this room is married. Like what advice would you give us?
You sounded like not sure for like a quick second. Everybody's in this room.
I don't know if we
married.
like the other studio. But anyway, so what is the best advice you can give to married couples?
Ooh. The best?
You put her on the spot.
I know. That's good.
Kobe or Jordan?
Yeah. There's so much advice. So I've been married for it'll be 17 years in September.
Long time.
September what?
September 3rd.
Oh, hey.
Look like I hijacked his date. Look. September what?
September what? You know your husband's listening.
Yeah,
see,
I
you
put it in
remember
the Oh, okay. You had his back. So there's lots of things. Especially because we're in business together. But I think it's important, and I know this term gets hijacked quite a bit, but I think it's important to learn your spouse's love language.
Whoa.
It's not.
Why is that so important?
It's important because it's important to learn how to love them, how they want to be loved, instead of how you want to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
We love people.
Speak on it.
We love people how we want to be loved.
Right.
We say things like, that's how I want to be treated. Yeah. But that might not be how they want to be treated. So that's a big piece of like understanding. I didn't even know for myself until I took the test that I appreciate acts of service.
Mm-hmm. What does that look like?
It looks like you clean the kitchen. Mm-hmm. That gives me extra time. Okay. Now you get an extra time. I mean, really, you know what I mean? Like, so understanding that, and understanding like for him, like words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. Actually means something. Like for me, don't give me words of affirmation. I don't do that. I don't care what you tell me.
Right. You're like, I already know I'm beautiful.
So you said you took a test to find out your love language. Where did you find this test?
Yeah,
so our viewers can.
You can look up the 5 love languages online. There's a free look for the free PDF. The 5 love languages. That you can do the test. I print it out for my patients a lot. Because I really don't care about them just getting clean and sober if they're still a mean person or a bad spouse or a bad parent, right? So I have them do it, and now there's all these other versions of the 5 love languages.
There are, yes.
Even as it relates to like your children and understanding how they receive love,
absolutely,
how they understand love,
and don't we have a tendency to treat people or love people in the way that we receive love and in the way that we feel comfortable. And that can be a mistake because we're not all raised the same. We don't all receive love and affection and things like that in the same way. So how do we overcome that? And how do we take a step back and listen to or be open, you know, to feeling how somebody else needs to be treated?
Yeah, I think it's a process, but that's why I like giving free resources. Like, go look up. Oh, y'all got a phone?
Yeah.
Go look up the 5 love languages. Understand. It's only like 15 questions.
Yeah.
You're gonna learn a lot about yourself and your partner, right? At the same time, and then understand. Hey, if you really want to go deep, give it to your parent.
Oh.
Why do I need this? I know how to love you.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
But understand how they need to be.
Wow.
Right? Like, give it to a sibling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We don't understand. We think we know, but we don't. We often don't know how people want to be or are receptive to love.
And I think sometimes we don't think we know. I think that oftentimes we're incredibly clueless, and it's difficult to look at yourself in many ways, but very often in the way that we love. It's very challenging because it feels like self-criticism.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not helpful.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like it would be better to, maybe scary, but better to look at it so that we can love better.
Absolutely. And like I said before, like, understand that piece. Right?
Yeah.
Also, I think when you're in a long-term relationship, it's easy to start seeing the things that you don't like or the things that are different instead of the things that you have in common. Right? I used to wonder, like, how do people who are married stay in business together? And now we're in business, right? There was a mindset shift around the partnership, right?
Right.
And then really just kind of understanding that the different levels of intimacy, like financial intimacy, recreational intimacy, like there's different types.
Interesting.
Of intimacy. So just, I mean, there's a lot to maintain. You all know, you guys are all married.
Right.
You said maybe.
Oh yeah.
No,
nobody wants to be in trouble.
We all are married here.
Yes.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I always love seeing how people maintain their own personal health, right? I feel like there's a foundation. What do you do? What rituals do you have for yourself that maintains the health and the mindset that, you know, you have to pour into yourself first before you pour into your customers, your clients, your family? Like, what do you do for yourself on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, that's a great question. So right now I'm in a 10-day. I do a lot of challenges.
Okay. You break it down into small bite size.
I break it down.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll give myself a break. But right now I'm in a 10-day sunrise challenge that includes things like yoga and meditation and a lot of work, right? Chakra work and things like that.
Why does that work for you?
It works for me because it gets me out of my own mind. I wake up with a to-do list. In fact, sometimes I can't sleep because, right? Sometimes I'm in a conversation and I'm making a grocery list.
Yeah.
So for
multitasking.
Me, so for me, that to calm that level of distraction, I have to start on purpose and with purpose. Like, start the day. That's important for me. Also, I'm a big breakfast person, but I also coach my clients and my patients, especially in recovery, around the importance of eating. Right, especially a healthy breakfast in the morning, because it's part of our HALT system, which is hungry, angry, lonely, tired, but monitoring those things. So for me, I have to make sure I have the energy, right, the fuel to start the day. And then also just, I wake up with gratitude.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, when you wake up, you have an opportunity to choose your perspective. So I challenge them and ask them, like, what's on your nightstand? Is it a pair of shades? Do you wake up and put on shades and everything you see is dark? The eggs are cooked too hard. The TV's too loud. Do you have a magnifying glass on your nightstand? So the first thing you do when you wake up is you make every little thing big, right? Do you have binoculars there, right? Do you pick them up and just start future tripping? You're not even at the bed yet. You're worried about the end of the day or the end of the week or the end of the month. So learning how to choose your perspective from the beginning of the morning is really important for me.
That's beautiful.
That's amazing. And did you learn that getting licensed or through marriage or like a little bit of both?
Through life. So I think the licensing process and learning process for becoming a licensed marriage and family therapist was just part of my personal development. Right? I learned some clinical skills, but a lot of this stuff I didn't even realize, even growing up in the hood, like I was already learning these skills. I just didn't know how to, I didn't know how to articulate them. I didn't understand their purpose, right? Every pain, everything had some purpose. Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That is really powerful. So looking at your next steps, right, from where you are now, obviously you're making a huge impact and you wrote a book. Right, we can talk a little bit more about the book.
And a workbook.
A book and a workbook, right? So where do you go from here?
Where do I go from here? It's a great question. So Vacate Victimville is my platform, but I am also a co-author of another book, The Breaking Point, and I'll actually be publishing the fourth book in October. So in 1 year,
Wow.
in 18 months, I will have published 4 books.
Wow.
Next month, I will be debuting my podcast, Vacate Victimville. Right?
Yay!
Wow.
So what I'm doing right now is staying a very student of my craft. I love doing speaking, but mostly for like retreats, right? Any healing spaces. I love to be in any type of space where there's going to be like healing and transformation going on.
Yeah.
I love it. So that's
gotta,
what I plan to do. Yeah.
That's amazing, right? You have to have a lot of motivation, a lot of energy, right? To do. You got a big engine, right? Like where does that come from?
Where does it come from? That's a great question. I think I wake up like this. Not the makeup or the hair, trust me. I definitely, with the energy, like I've always had drive, right? And I think that comes from, right, that child who didn't have much and wanting more, right? And I understood that me staying right in mediocrity was suspending me from becoming great, right? And I understand this, like from a spiritual perspective, I understand that my gift was given to me for me to open, but for others to receive.
Interesting.
It's different, right?
When was that moment that you just knew that was your gift?
I don't know if there were moments, but I heard someone say that God winked at me, or God was winking at me. There are so many winks.
Saying,
right?
Now's your time. This is it.
Right.
Here's a hint.
And there were people saying things. There were revelations I was having a long time. So I don't know if there was a moment per se, but I will say
that you were getting signs over and over.
I was getting signs over and over.
And when did you finally was like, I have to like, I keep on, pursue it. Like,
that was when I told you when I stepped down from my mayoral campaign in Victimville, and I went to this job. And shout out to Solano County Office of Education. And I took a job where I didn't even put that I have 2 masters and then a license commission on the application. Right? I just wanted to get out.
Wow.
And they were like, well, I love the trick from the training perspective. We had to like get conferences ready and things like that. And I was like folding pamphlets. And so people who know me, like they know like I'm not good with like geometry or anything. Folding trifolds and things like that, I actually got to reflect, and I got so much from my creator. Like I was getting lessons out of everything. Lessons from a centerpiece, right? The purpose of a centerpiece in the middle of the tape. I mean, it was just crazy. And I started writing these things down.
You're getting all the downloads.
Downloads.
I think there are things like folding the trifold, folding the pamphlets, making the centerpiece, things like that are meditational, and they're
therapeutic.
They're very therapeutic, and they're also kind of a conduit to receive
absolutely
messages and to receive just like peaceful. We're so in our heads, and we're so often overthinking, just like you said about what's on your nightstand. We're so often overthinking little things, turning mountains into molehills, all this other stuff. And instead, if we're just sitting and open to receiving, you're not even trying to receive, but that doesn't mean it's not getting something's not getting downloaded to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I said, in the other workspace, I was already full.
Yeah.
I was carrying everyone else's stuff. When I left, I didn't have to carry that stuff. And God was like, "Ooh, that took you a minute."
Well, and
now
it's amazing.
Now I can give you the download. Now you have the capacity.
Right.
So I always had the talent.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had the gift. I never had the capacity to execute.
Why? Why didn't you have the capacity?
Because I was too busy working someone else's plan.
Mm-hmm.
I was too busy being the holder for other people. Mm-hmm. Right? And once I realized, it's an issue of capacity, it's different. I'm not the same person I was a year ago.
So let me ask you, I'm hitting stuff all over the place. Let me ask you, because I too have experienced this, what did it feel like, not just for you, but for the people who were used to you being available, emotionally available to them at all times? What was it like, that dynamic shift, right? Because that's uncomfortable for people who are used to you always being on speed dial to take in their stuff.
Yeah. Even the local police had my number because I was doing a lot of emergency response work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And so they liked responding with me, like how I work with the families. Yeah. The word I kept hearing over and over again was abandonment.
Wow.
You abandoned them?
Yeah,
wow.
Abandonment.
Yeah.
Abandonment.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking to myself,
Scared.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what I realized during that time is that I had in some ways become their God.
Right.
And when you become someone else's God, they don't get to experience God for themselves.
Mm.
That's what we were talking about. God in you.
Yeah.
God in you.
Yeah. And so the word I kept hearing was abandonment. And when people say that, there's also automatically some guilt.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's why they say it.
I went
That's
from
why
a
they say
victim.
it. Yeah.
I went from a victim choosing myself to a perpetrator.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that amazing how that happens?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right. And I learned how to establish boundaries.
Yeah.
I understood that
Boundaries are everything.
And boundaries have to be clear. I would just
very clear.
I was assuming people knew.
Mm-hmm.
I was assuming, right? And then someone taught me, they were like, Vernice, but what's the consequence if they do cross the boundary?
Exactly.
Yeah, there has to be. And it's not to punish people. It's really a gift.
Yeah.
It is truly it's truly a gift, because then if you don't have you or somebody like you to always go to, or you have to go to yourself. You have to look into your own resources, whatever those may be. They can be your higher power. It can be your diet. It can be all kinds of things. If you don't have that one person who has had loose boundaries, right? If they firm up those boundaries, you've got to be resourceful. And that's a gift.
It's real. It's real. And one last question before you go, Vernice. Believe it or not, we're coming to the end of our time already.
No.
This is a quick question, right? A lot of our conversation, great conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's been about healing. You talk about victimville and basically like taking your power back, right? So most people, I would say, obviously aren't where you are. At least not yet, right? Like they can get there. And most people, I believe, are still dealing with traumas all the time on a daily basis. And I mean, you're human. I'm sure you deal with them too. So how do you create balance, right? Like how do you feel the trauma and the fear, whatever you're going through, but still maintain a positive outlook?
Yeah. So in Victimville, the only road that runs through the entire town is Forgiveness Freeway. And I'm not just talking about forgiving other people, but forgiving yourself when there's not an opportunity to forgive the other person. Right? Forgiving yourself. So this space of forgiveness is really a choice, and I talk to people about it quite a bit. But forgiving myself for staying for so long.
Oh man.
Forgiving myself for not choosing up, for not owning my own power, right? So forgiveness is a huge part of the process for the healing side of the work, right? For getting on the other side, for working through it, right? No matter who harmed or hurt you, that forgiveness piece is super important.
Wow. So you're definitely a professional. You taking on new clients?
No, sir.
You'll see.
I don't even have a wait list.
Yeah. Go get the book.
Right.
Outstanding. Go get the book, Vacate Victimville by Vernice Cooper. Vacate Victimville. Drop your tag real quick.
Yeah, so on Instagram and Facebook, I'm at Vacate Victimville. On TikTok, I'm at Vacate Victimville. I'm do better. Vacate Victimville. And my website is www.vacatevictimville.net.
Outstanding. So you just heard from Vernice Cooper on the Anything Can Happen show. That was an incredible conversation. Play that back, send it to your friends, share it. Follow us at ach.show. This is the Anything Can Happen show on KGPC 96.9 FM and streaming online at www.kgpc969.org. Stay tuned. We got a lot more on the way. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.